Or
Okay, so hello
maybe
guys.
maybe we should do Harris versus Vance, maybe.
Yeah, we'll do that one later, but this is a hypothetical Biden versus Vance. What it is can be left up to your interpretation, whether it's like
He
if
got
Trump was
shot.
assassinated or whatever you want to say. But either way, this is like a hypothetical. What if it was JD Vance versus Joe Biden? So this is the 13 keys. And if you think the 13 keys are inaccurate, see, the actual problem with the 13 keys was like it's too objective, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely too objective. Like I'd say right now, midterm gains. Okay, so Lichtman, first of all, he said no primary contest. I would kind of disagree with that because even though there wasn't an actual primary contest, there was the whole will Biden drop out? Basically, him getting forced out of the party, which in my opinion, that's enough of a primary challenge. And
And
no, yeah, and then no third party. I would honestly disagree with that because first of all, we had RFK Jr. who did drop out of the race. However, he still took at least somewhat of the vote. And then you had Jill Stein in Michigan. They didn't take too much of the vote, but a lot of people in Michigan, a lot of Arab Americans, a lot of polls said they would break for Jill Stein, which a lot of them did, and that's why Trump won Dearborn, which no Republican has won years. Yeah.
and then the last one I would say is the last two, obviously economy, and then scandal. I mean, if the sitting president is forced out by his political party, that is a scandal, in my opinion.
Social unrest. I don't think there was much social
And
unrest.
lastly,
Well,
uncharismatic challenger. Me personally, I would mark it as false because, like, I don't know, like the whole assassination attempt thing, him raising his fist in the air,
Trump's a
all that
very
stuff.
Trump's a very charismatic prince. He was a
I mean,
very charismatic
yeah.
person.
But
He
the thing
got the
about
Rust
that
Belt.
is like in 2020 and 2016 he got it right by not marking him as charismatic, but I guess since then he's been able to resonate more with voters.
Also, with the economy thing, I feel like the economy thing is too objective because if people, even if the economy is quote unquote good, if people do not think the economy is good, they're gonna vote against that, even if you see consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, right? Even if you don't see that, if people still see the economy is a major issue, because we saw economy huge part of the reason. Yeah. Also, hang on, I was gonna say something else. I forgot.
Yeah,
We can continue.
but in any case, let's go ahead
Oh,
and oh yeah.
major foreign military success, like the failure thing. Afghanistan, Gaza,
Failure is Afghanistan and Gaza, but I guess for success we
Ukraine,
could say, I mean,
Ukraine too.
Ukraine is more objective, but we'll
Because
just say it's false.
the war has been going on for 3 years, and yeah, the war's been
So
going on
yeah,
3 years.
so if it was Vance versus Biden, this would have been, I guess you can say, no scandal. We could have put that. Uh, and then yeah, so that
Well,
would have,
Biden would have had a scandal. His age.
I guess, yeah, good point. So I
The
guess we could
Biden
say
administration is full with scandals. Hunter Biden, like all
Hunter
the Clintons,
Biden, yeah,
then the
but
laptop scandal on the eve of 2020 election, like that happened.
yeah. All right, but in any case, let's go ahead and fill out the safe states for either party, you know.
I
There's
think I think Washington, yeah.
there's also
I don't know if I want to.
California
Yeah, California. I think it'll be a little bit closer than it actually was, but we'll probably see California,
and Vermont
Hawaii,
and Hawaii. Yeah, Hawaii also exists.
and
And
Maine's first congressional district.
so, yeah, that's it for Biden and Vance. Oh, whoops.
And then,
For Vance and Marco Rubio, they've got a ton of safe states, like almost 218 electoral votes worth of safe states. Uh,
I think he wins Nebraska's
207.
first. Yeah,
Yeah, so
I think he wins every single state that Donald Trump won by over 15, and then probably
plus
also.
Ohio, Florida, Texas, Nebraska's first, and Iowa.
What about Indiana?
Yeah, and Indiana. And then there's one more state.
Alaska?
Oh yeah, Alaska. And also Alaska, which was likely uh would be uh would be safe in this scenario. Now, likely states for Biden, there are a lot of them.
Oregon,
Oregon, Rhode Island,
Colorado.
Colorado. No, wait, no, not New Mexico, just Colorado. Colorado, Delaware, and
Yeah.
Connecticut. I think New Jersey would probably be downgraded to lean. Oh yeah,
Here's,
Maine's at large, New York, and Illinois.
yeah, I do agree because Biden, he's from Scranton, so he has decent Northeast appeal. However, Vance, he's also from that region, so you do have a conflict of interest. So I do think the margin probably will be lower.
Yeah. And then these are and then Vance likely states,
I, I could see
Maine's
Arizona,
first congressional district, Arizona, which was actually likely, and
5.5.
Nevada.
Yeah, I'd agree on that. Do you want to
And
put, do we want to put Georgia or North Carolina? Because
no,
black turnout might, because Kamala Harris, black turnout probably will drop a little bit from where it actually was. And black
yeah,
women, I think they could vote for Vance because all the hype around Harris isn't really there anymore.
I guess we
I guess
could.
we could do North Carolina.
North Carolina, I mean, the Republican Party there did face a lot of scandal, so
Yeah.
they're lucky to have won. So
They
they're
won
lucky
by
to have
3.
actually won.
They won by 3.5 though, which is a lot more than they won in Georgia because they only won by 2.
Yeah.
So maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not
Either
today.
way, yeah. So these are the quote unquote battlegrounds. Uh, in if Biden had stayed in the race, there would have been New Mexico would have been a battleground, Virginia would have been a battleground, Nebraska's second would have been a battleground,
I mean, they were
New
all battlegrounds,
Hampshire would have been a battleground,
They were all
and
really battlegrounds in 2024, regardless.
New Jersey, I don't think so. Like both of our predictions and most major pollsters had it being safe margin.
Yeah.
Like no one foresaw anything happening. That was a
Actually,
huge upset.
a lot of people thought New Jersey could be close. Like a lot, these were like Republican people. They're like New Jersey and New Mexico, like New Jersey and New York would be very close. And then they kind of got bullied on the internet for it. So who's laughing now, really?
Yeah, good point. All
So
right. And then now we have the actual quote unquote battleground states on that level. Um, so let's go ahead and go from rough to sun. There, leftmost, Nebraska. Nebraska, second congressional district, lots of white college educated voters.
Vance
Uh,
and Vance and Biden in their own right would do very good with white college educated voters. I do think Vance, he would probably do better with white college educated voters than Biden because Biden's kind of old, so we have to factor that in. But yeah, I
yeah.
do agree that district might flip because Don Republicans have proved they can win the district with Don Bacon. We've seen huge split tickets since like 2016 in that district. So
Then we've got Minnesota. With Tim Walz not on the ticket, I'm guess you could say this might be a bit more close than it actually was.
I can pull up the election shuffler on my phone and we can come back to that after we finish the video.
Yeah. And then next up we have Wisconsin. Lots of white college educated voters.
Vance
And
will do very good in that part of the country. His appeal is very white working class based, so I do think he'll do pretty good.
and also Michigan,
The air
dear
vote
the
definitely
Arab
swings
vote.
against. I think it swings more against Biden than it did Harris because remember, Arab Americans they weren't very fond of Donald Trump either, especially with the travel bans and everything back in 2018. I do think Vance could win Wisconsin by a bit more than Tilt, so maybe.
I guess we could put it like 1.1 or 1.2.
Yeah,
And then Pennsylvania, this is Biden's birth state. He was raised in Scranton, so I do think it could be a bit closer.
closer, yeah.
Now Virginia, back in before Biden dropped out, it was Trump was polling ahead in Virginia, and then he and then after that, after Harris got back in the race, they just completely ignored Virginia and they lost it by 5 or so percent.
It was about 5. Here's the thing with I can pull it up if you want.
Okay.
Here's the thing with Virginia. I did a video on this yesterday. In order for Virginia to go Republican, turnout in Nova needs to drop 30% from where it was in 2020 in each spot in Nova. Then the rural counties, you need to match Donald Trump's margin in the rural counties and
Bro.
then increase in those rural counties while also increasing in Nova, which is continuously trending to the left. And you have to see major turnout issues, which without a black woman on the top of the ticket, you could, well, actually, there is a black woman on top of the ticket. Without Kamala Harris being the vice president, without Kamala Harris being the presidential nominee, you probably will see black turnout drop. But 30%, it's up to interpretation whether we can see that or not.
Yeah, but either way, I'm not sure if it'll flip entire. I'm not entirely sure.
I'm not very
Uh,
sure either.
I'll go ahead and say that I guess you can say it just stays by narrower margin or so.
Yeah, pulling up the election shuffler on my phone so we can talk about some of these races. But it's not working. You know what? I don't have to do it on my phone. I can
I
just do it on my iPhone. It's fine.
okay. Now we got the state of North Carolina. You know, the Republican Party had a massive scandal in North Carolina earlier this year. You might or might not know about Mark Robinson's scandal. You know, it was almost safe. It was almost safe Democrat, like 0.2% away from being safe.
Fun fact,
I
North Carolina, that governor's race was the most safe. That was Democrats' best margin governor rise in the entire country.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
yeah,
but either way, tomorrow Roy Cooper's leaving office. And he just pardoned 15 death row inmates, and he might run for U.S. Senate. So yeah. Either way, we were talking about North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina. I think Vance could do good in North Carolina, same as maybe a bit better than Trump. Trump carried North Carolina by 3.2. I think maybe Vance could carry it by like 3.5, 3.6, maybe. Georgia. Now the black woman vote would be less in Georgia now, in my
I think
opinion.
I think Vance can crack 15% with black voters without.
Yeah. So mm, I guess you could say it'll be somewhat closer uh without the black woman, but either way, we're gonna keep it in tilt. Now, New Mexico. New Mexico has a very high Hispanic population, highest in the country, I think. And Kamala Harris still did not too bad in New Mexico. She won it by 6 percentage points exactly. Uh, you'll see like uh Republicans tend to do well in like these parts of the country. Meanwhile, Democrats tend to do well like in the northern area, like Santa Fe County. But either way, I think it would be maybe closer with Biden, but not quite ready to flip yet.
Here's the thing. I made a video on Virginia and New Mexico yesterday in order for Trump to win New Mexico. Because if we take a look at the swing map of New Mexico, the Hispanic counties in that pretty much every half the counties in New Mexico shifted by more than 5 points. And
Uh-huh.
you a quarter of the county shifted by 10, all because of the border, the economy. I think with Biden on the ticket, economy, border, all that stuff will be hammered in more. And also you have Rubio, who is a Hispanic. So he can get the Hispanic turnout pretty high. So I don't know if I'm confident enough to make that state flip. I do think, however,
It'll be
yeah,
super close. Maybe
it'll
like
be
tilt.
super close. Maybe in a good year it could flip.
And now the final two states. We've got Minnesota. What's the so could you if it's not loading on your phone, you can just give me the link. I can pull it up.
Election shuffler,
Yeah.
yeah, please do. I can talk about map.jacks. So we take a look at this. You can do that. I can talk about map.jacks and do the swing map. So we take
Yeah.
a look at Minnesota. So Trump gained in the state, but that's the only reason Trump gained in the state is because he did like 3 to 4 points better in all the rural counties than he did in 2022. And he did slightly better in Minneapolis. And I say slightly better because most of the counties he did better in Minneapolis, it was less than 1%. So barely a difference, honestly. Yeah, we take a look at Hennepin County, Ramsey County, all those counties. They shifted about very, very small margins towards Trump. However, I do think with the fact, first of all, Minnesota has a very big Arab population, the Somali population. The chairs of the Somali people, the chair of the Somalians in Minnesota, they've endorsed Donald Trump. I do think we'll see more Green Party votes and more Donald Trump votes in that area. So, do we want to
And
make Minnesota a? Because we take a look at the election shuffler, we can edit the margins around a little bit. Drop turnout in Minneapolis by 10%, and let's see what happens.
all right, election shuffler version 3. Da, 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 da.
Dun.
Choose a year. Oh,
2020. There's my other
2020.
option.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just drop Minneapolis turnout by 10%.
Minneapolis, Carver. Adjust turnout,
Well,
negative 10. So if we say negative 10%,
yeah, it
uh,
drops by 10.
yeah, and you'll see if we drop
Drop
the
the turnout
turnout.
in all the blue counties too, because those are where a lot more votes are in that county. Because that county had about 6,000 people. This has about
Wait,
600,000
drop it
people.
in the deep blue counties.
Drop it in the deep blue county. This is where Minneapolis, St. Paul area. We saw supercharged turnout in 2020, but that was in response to George Floyd. All the Antifa, the BLM protests, those supercharged turnout there. We're gonna see drops in turnouts, especially without Kamala Harris as being the nominee.
And no Tim Walz either. So
Oh yeah, no Tim
either,
Walz.
yeah, so either way, this would be the results.
We can drop more counties.
Yeah, let's go ahead and drop more counties. Like, which county should we drop?
Dakota and then the other one.
All right.
Did
Dakota.
you adjust the margins too? You might want to adjust the margins. Make like I'm gonna say
So
do a four
Dakota.
point shift in every single one of those counties and see what happens.
Okay. All right. And then shift partisanship by 4 points in
Do a
each
-4.
one of the.
Do -4.
Oh, wait, no, yeah,
Yeah,
negative.
we're shifting it to the
Well,
Republicans.
all right, yeah, R plus 4. Then Ramsey, D plus 4. Then, yeah.
Okay, so we see here map.
And yeah. So it's tilt. I mean
Yeah,
lean D, based
margins.
on these
Yeah,
results.
the margins lean. That's only in Minneapolis. And Trump, he also with the rest of the state, he supercharged turnout in the rest of the state too. We saw very Republicans gain in every single county except three in the entire state, which honestly, I do not want to bore everyone by having to shift every single individual county. So,
Yeah, so at the end, it's going down in the lean D category.
yeah.
And last and certainly not
Ma-
least, we have New Hampshire.
New
New
Hampshire.
Hampshire is very anti-incumbent, as you can see.
Yeah.
Like if you go back several years, you'll notice that New Hampshire is an extremely anti-incumbent state. Biden
Yeah.
carried it by 7 points. Hillary barely carried it.
Incumbent
Uh,
parties in particular.
yeah,
It,
incumbent parties in particular, on the presidential level at least.
yeah.
So either way, uh, New Hampshire, I see it flipping. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't flip given the anti-incumbency.
Yeah.
Kamala carried it by
2.8
2.8, and then on the same ticket, Kelly
AR.
Ayotte, whatever, however you pronounce her last name,
I think it's yeah.
had 9.3. And on the House level,
It was like
it
a
was
5 point generic ballot, like around a 5 point.
yeah, generic on the House
Actually, a
level,
bit more than five.
and then no Senate.
New Hampshire is very elastic. Like in 2020, we saw 15-point margin from Jean Shaheen, 30-point margin from Chris Sununu, like 7-point margin of the generic ballot, and a 7-point Biden victory.
Either way, I'm gonna go ahead and place it in the tilt R category for
Yeah.
now. And that's all. That is the map for Biden versus Vance. So let's go ahead and take a look at how would the Senate shift if that happened. So
I think
uh,
Wisconsin and Michigan, I think those Senate races for sure flip.
and yeah, so those Senate races would flip. I'm pretty sure. And then
I'm gonna call Nevada flip. I'm gonna call it Nevada flip.
yeah. So
Hispanic turnout in Nevada will probably supercharge. Putting Rubio on the ticket, great way to get the Hispanic vote out. Because we
yeah.
saw sitting with Kamala. Hispanic, I think with Rubio on the ticket, Republicans could win the Hispanic vote outright.
Yeah, that is a fair point. So I think that this would, it would change a little bit. So uh obviously Nevada will flip.
Mon-
Arizona, it's not flipping. Kerry Lake is an electoral nuke.
a
So
dead, I say this on my channel, a dead goldfish could have beat her. A dead goldfish severed through the neck by Martha McSally could have beat her.
yes. So yeah, we are so yeah, Arizona's staying where it was in reality. New Mexico, again, the Hispanic turnout could have drifted a bit away from Martin Heinrich, but not by much.
We won by like 10. So,
Yeah. And Republicans in Texas, again, I don't think they would have changed much. It would have remained likely.
yeah. Cruz
Uh,
only won by 9. Less than 9,
yeah.
actually.
And then
Florida could be safe.
Florida, yeah. Because Scott, if you notice in Florida, my final prediction had Scott at 6, and I think in the end he ended up winning by
I think it was 11.
12.8.
Oh, 12.8. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have Virginia. Virginia,
Hung lost by 9. I know that margin off the top of my head.
yeah. I think it would have been very static. Nothing much would have changed there. Maryland, nothing much would have changed. Larry Hogan's a very open rhino. Uh, and New Jersey, I don't think much would have changed. Andy Kim won by 9.6 against Curtis Bashaw. And I
Why are
think
not all the votes in New Jersey? It says 94% of the votes in.
I have no idea.
It's almost 2025. New Jersey, get your votes in.
Yeah. All right. And so yeah. Then New York, Kirsten Gillibrand won by 18.3 when Kamala Harris won by like 12. Also, New York, you also need to get your votes in. I think
97% in New York. Trump, you better pass those voter ID laws day one of your presidency.
I think New York would probably remain safe.
Yeah.
Now we head over to the WIMPA. Pennsylvania, obviously a huge upset flip. No one saw that coming. Uh, it would have stayed. Uh, Michigan, no one saw that Slotkin and Baldwin were going to underperform, but I think they would have flipped.
I think they would have flipped too.
Uh,
Minnesota would have probably been safe regardless. Amy Klobuchar, she won by 15. I even in that national environment, I do think she still wins by a safe margin.
yes. And now we have Montana. Tim Sheehy won by 7.1. And I think Tim Sheehy would have still won by like 8 or 9, regardless. Then Nebraska is
With
Fisher
6 point margin.
6.7% margin. She ran behind Pete Ricketts by 19%, I think. 18.5%. She ran behind Pete Ricketts. It would have remained that way, in my opinion. She wouldn't have been safe. And last and certainly not least, we have Ohio. Bernie Moreno won by 3.6.
Put it up to
My
likely.
yeah, my
Put it up to
final
likely.
prediction had it. And so yeah, Republicans have basically a supermajority in the Senate if it was Vance at the top of the ticket and Biden had stayed in. Another day we are going to do part 2, which is Harris slash Walls versus Vance slash Rubio. That's part 2. That's coming another day. So yeah, we'll see you all next year. Bye.